Iranian illegal immigrant who sexually assaulted a teenager called Abby Johnson. Now, we're not allowed to film in court, but what I want to do is do my best to take you inside that courtroom. I want you to understand the impact of these asylum seeker sex attacks, how the prosecution works, the pathetic arguments the defence make, and crucially, the role that the judges play. Now, I think more people need to know about this stuff, and regular viewers and listeners will remember Abby. She bravely waived her right to anonymity and shared her story with us a couple of months ago.
I have nothing to be ashamed about. I can't change what happened to me whatsoever. But if I can just do a little bit to save someone else from going through what I went through, then I will do that.
Abby was just doing what normal teenagers do. She was on a night out with her friends near a local town. She was playing an innocent game of hide and seek before being stalked and attacked by Ahmed Reda Khalafi, a 29-year-old who broke into Britain in the back of a lorry in 2024. Now, he claims he's been given refugee status, but one thing that was revealed in court today was that he can't actually provide any evidence of that at all. Now, there is a serious question here to be asked. Did anyone even know he was in the country until the night he committed that sexual assault? He pleaded guilty to 4 counts of sexual assault. Today was Abby's day in court, and I caught up with her before she went in.
It's really scary today, because obviously it's going to be my first time really seeing him. But I feel like it will be my time to tell him what he's done to me and let him know the effect that he's had on my life. So it'll be nice to get that out.
How are you feeling about having to read your victim impact statement?
It's going to be scary because, again, I'm going to feel vulnerable. But I feel like it's the best thing for me to do to let everyone know what he did instead of sugarcoating it and saying that I'm fine when I'm not, because he affected my life and I want him to know that.
What would be the best outcome for you today at this sentencing? What are you hoping for?
Well, obviously I'm hoping he gets a good sentence, because I don't want him to just be able to get out and live his life when he ruined mine. But after a sentence, I would like him to be deported afterwards, because I would feel most safe if that happened, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Khalafi's prison van was late, which meant that I was stuck in the waiting room for a while with a man who claimed to be his cousin. He was hoping that Khalafi would be released today, and he was there to tell the court that he was going to let him live with him in Barnet, London, if he was allowed out. Now, I want to stress to you that I had a conversation with that man, and he spoke very good English to me in the waiting room. And bear that in mind when I play you a little clip later on. Eventually, Khalafi arrived in the dock. That's him arriving at court today in that prison van. Now, the first thing that you notice is actually how large he is. He looked well over 6 foot to me, was quite a muscular bloke, and that is a stark contrast to Abby, who, whilst being 19 years old, certainly does look quite a lot younger, I think that's fair to say. The prosecution then played a CCTV recording of the attack. What it showed was Abby hiding in a bush, playing with her friends. She then walks off, and she returns a few minutes later. She's obviously in a vulnerable state. You can tell by the way that she's walking that there is no way she could ever have consented to any kind of sexual activity. Then you see Khalafi, like a predator stalking his prey, following Abby into the bush. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but he subjected her to between 10 and 12 minutes of continuous sexual assault. He was so brazen. In the footage played in court today, which we're obviously not showing, you can see the blue lights of a parked police car just around the corner, and he didn't care. As the CCTV was played, Khalafi's cousin put his head in his hands and couldn't watch. He realised then what a monster he was. Abby then stood up and bravely read out her victim impact statement. She outlined the psychological trauma that she's faced, suicidal thoughts, being triggered by people's accents, and even hugs from relatives. Khalafi wasn't man enough to even look at her. He didn't look at her once. Then came the defence. So you ready for this? This is what the defence argued. He fled Iran because he converted to Christianity, though we have seen absolutely no evidence to support this. He's not educated. He just used to drive a tractor and it ran. He doesn't understand cultural norms between men and women in Britain. He's not used to drinking alcohol. He's already had a tough time in prison because he can't speak English. In the next segment, I'm going to tell you how that got absolutely destroyed by the judge. And I ask you to keep watching because you are really going to want to hear what that judge did to him today. But the defence asked for him to get a sentence of about a year. The prosecution said the judge should start at around 2.5 years. Well, the verdict came in. A 7.5-year sentence with a 10-year restraining order. And remember his cousin, who said, in English to me in the courtroom, that he was willing to house him if he was released today. Well, after we all sat through that CCTV footage, I thought I'd just catch up with him and see what he made of that outside court. How do you feel about the sentence that was given to your friend today? Do you think it's long enough? No. Can I just ask you, will you still be offering to put him up when he comes out of prison or no?
No, I couldn't speak English.
Do you think he should apologise to his victim more? Doesn't speak English, apparently. Doesn't speak English. So as he was sent down, Abby stood up and stared at him. She never took her eyes off him as he was led away. And with that, they both revealed their true characters. Khalafi, a tall, large man, was reduced to a pathetic husk, exposed as a weak, predatory slime ball who gets his kicks abusing vulnerable young women. Abby, a strong, brave, resilient and determined young woman who in that moment reclaimed all her power and control and who now hopefully can rebuild her life and have the very bright future that she richly deserves. I caught up with Abby after the sentencing. So, how do you feel after that then?
A lot better, because obviously we was told that it would be about 18 months. So to get 4.5 years and a 3 years extended licence period is brilliant. Yeah. It is brilliant.
So it's essentially a 7.5-year sentence in total. Look, you're incredibly brave in there.
Thank you.
What was that like coming face to face with him?
I'll never be able to explain it, because it was the most scariest thing I've ever had to do, and finally seeing the man who done it to me and him acting as if he's all sad and hearing that he feels bad for what he's done, it was really hard. But to watch him go away and be sent off, that was the best feeling.
I noticed that you made a point of really staring at him as he was sent away.
Yeah.
Why did you want to do that?
Because I felt like I had that control back. You know, I felt like before this he's had the control the whole time. But being able to go out there and say my piece, and I've done everything to get him sent away, and I got him sent away for a lot longer than what I thought he was going to be. To watch him walk down all sad and all that acting was a very powerful feeling for me.
Now, I know today was very difficult for you because I think you saw the CCTV footage for the first time.
I decided not to watch it because I knew that would be way too hard for me to watch it, but everyone else watched it. And it just kind of, in that CCTV, it kind of confirmed everything that we believed. So I'm glad they were able to watch it.
One of the things that stood out for me was that the judge was not buying any of his excuses.
Yeah.
He raised serious question marks about whether or not he'd been granted refugee status. He actually said he didn't really believe him when he said he didn't understand the cultural norms between men and women in this country. How did you feel about the way that the judge handled it in there today?
I can't fault the judge in anything, because I think one of the scariest things, because I know what happened and my family knows what happened, but it's making sure the judge believes you as well. So hearing him not believing anything that the guy's saying and actually coming into reality, it was like a breath of fresh air, to be honest, because it's like he sees it and he doesn't think I'm lying and he sees me as telling the truth. So it was like all my fighting was worth it, really, yeah.
And the next step for you, presumably, is that you want him deported?
Yeah. I would feel much more safer if he was deported. I mean, we've been told things that we don't know because it's not safe and stuff like that, but I don't feel safe with him here. And this is my home country, so I believe that he should be deported for me to feel safe.
that was also another thing the judge said, which is that he said there was absolutely no evidence to suggest that he had actually converted to Christianity, and that was one of the reasons why in the country. I just want to try to ask you a question, maybe looking a bit more positively at the future now. Do you feel like you can now, after today, rebuild your life, that the world might open up a bit more for you again?
Obviously, it's still a horrible thing. I'm still going to have flashbacks. I'm still going to have all this. But what I've got to think is, I've done it. I've fought for it. I got him sent away. He's punished for what he's done to me. So now I've got my freedom back, I feel, and I can move on with my life knowing that all my fighting was worth it and I got the outcome that I wanted. And I just want to keep spreading awareness for everyone else. So I feel like I can really just move forward with my life now.
All that fighting was very much worth it, Abby. Well done. OK, let's get the views of my panel this evening. We have got Reform UK's mayoral candidate, Layla Cunningham. We've also got Tory peer, Lord Bailey, and ex-Labour advisor, Matthew Larser. Layla, complete coincidence this, but actually on the night that we did the first interview with Abby, you were on the show as well, so you've kind of seen it come full circle now. We're going to talk more about the judge in the next, and the sentencing in the next segment, right? But I think the fact that guy, you know, is not, it appears, at the moment, facing automatic deportation. He broke in the back of a lorry in 2024. I mean, it's kind of got it all, this case, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, and you know that I feel it's down to political will, because do you remember the Ethiopian guy who escaped, and they deported him to Ethiopia once they had political pressure. So I don't know how you can reward, number one, illegal entry, and then reward this guy. When you commit a crime, it definitely should not mean indefinite leave in this country. He should be deported immediately. But we do have a legislative gap in that the Bail Act. So anyway, back to when you said that they pretend they don't speak English.
Yeah.
When I was a prosecutor in Westminster, they would pick the most obscure dialect of a country, and we'd have to delay, and postpone hearings because there was no interpreter.
Yeah.
And they would use it as a trick all the time.
And the thing for me was, and this stood out in court today, was that, and the judge even said this actually, that basically young women in this country have a right to go out on a Saturday night with their mates and have a couple of drinks and relax and not be attacked by an illegal migrant, basically.
Yeah.
But what's incredible is the judge had to state that very obvious thing. I think there's a few things that stick out to me in this. First of all is how incredibly brave that young lady is. I know it's an easy and flippant thing to say, but the way she's waived her anonymity is incredibly brave. And she had a clear idea of what she could do to help other young people stay safe. I think that's incredible and has to be commended. The other piece is, I've sat on this sofa and heard many a horror story about judges basically taking anything as at face value. So somebody says, so, yeah, of course he is a Christian. Yeah, of course he can't speak English. And actually challenging that. And I believe that's what the public want. The public don't want the judges to swing one way or one way either way. But what they do want is someone to challenge some of the people who are gaming the system. One of the things that frustrates me most sitting in Parliament is the idea that people don't game the system. We take too much at face value. People need to test that, and I'm glad to hear the judge did.
Yeah, wait till you hear the next segment. We're going to do this. I must say, you're going to want to hear what the judge did today. He did not take any of that guy's BS, and it exposes what can be done with judges in these cases. When you see those horror stories about people who walk free or get next to no time in prison, when you find out what happened in court today, you realise that is the will of the judge, right? That is the will of the judge. And that guy could have walked free today, technically. He could have done, and he didn't. He's looking at a 7.5-year stretch, which is, all things considered, a decent result. Although obviously no sentence will ever be long enough. Matthew, look, I suppose a word to Abby's bravery and courage, but also your overall kind of take on that particular case there.
Well, I mean, I think that we must absolutely commend Abby for her bravery and waiving her right to anonymity, speaking out, and I mean, all we can do is wish her all the best for the future. And now that the case is concluded, obviously one of the things that I'm sure she'd like to see. and I'm sure that all of us on the sofa would like to see, is this despicable person deported at the earliest opportunity. I think that is what will happen. And the government, obviously, Iran is not an easy place to deport people back to, because, as we know, in other events, we might be involved in, military action in Iran at any point. But every single lever that is possible to use must be used to get him out of the country as soon as possible.
The thing is, Patrick, this is not an isolated case, is it? It's a direct consequence of policy choices by Labour and Conservatives. And women's safety is not compatible with open-ended asylum. It's not compatible with the ECHR, because the ECHR right now has been weaponised, and it's preventing us from deporting illegal migrants. And Abby has spoken out, and I was here when she did it, and it was incredibly brave. And honestly, the fact that she said she looked him in the eye to regain control is a lesson for everyone.
You should have seen it.
I mean, honestly, that she's amazing. And I think we owe her for coming out and speaking, and she's spoken so other people don't have to go through this. We owe her a policy that stops this from happening again.
Just pop in it, because we are going to return to this, right? We're going to return to it in a few minutes' time. I just want to read this statement for you from the Home Office. It says, "We welcome this judgment, and our thoughts are with the victim of this abhorrent crime. We will not allow foreign criminals and illegal migrants to exploit our laws. We are reforming human rights laws and replacing the broken appeal system so we can scale up deportations. All foreign national offenders who receive a prison sentence in the UK are referred for deportation at the earliest opportunity." I just want to remind you at this point that I think one of the things that was revealed in court today is that I don't think anyone knew this guy was in the country until he did what he did. Right, that was the implication from what was said in court today, which really is a kind of remarkable stat when you think about it.